Hello there, folks. My name is Spunks, and welcome back to another episode of Box Office Chat. This is the show where I break down the top 5 domestic box office results, see where each movie landed, and see how well each movie did. So let's get started. Number 5 is Cruella, which made $6.7 million this weekend, bringing its domestic total to $55 million and its worldwide total to $129 million. This film has just surpassed many of the films that have been released post-pandemic, including Disney's own Raya and the Last Dragon, and is now the third highest grossing film of the year behind Godzilla vs. Kong and another film we will talk about at near the end of the video. And this movie is now just sitting 2 million behind Tenet and around 3 million behind The Crude's A New Age, and I guarantee that the film will be able to surpass both of them and even manage to make $60 million, probably by the end of this week or so. So Cruella is kind of a sleeper hit for the company. Many thought that the opening weekend was a little underperforming and it was a little disappointing, but the film is having strong holds throughout its domestic run that now it is already made more money than Tom and Jerry, Wonder Woman, Mortal Kombat, and is also about to make more money than the Christopher Nolan movie, which is very impressive. And the fact that it was also to cross $100 million worldwide is also pretty good for it as well. I don't think it will have as much staying power or be in the top 5 as long as Raya did, mainly due to the competition is starting to come up real fast, specifically one movie involving cars, and I don't think it'll surpass Godzilla vs. Kong, but I do think it'll get close, maybe around 77 to 80 million, I think is a safe bet for Cruella domestically. Number 4 is Peter Rabbit 2: The Runaway, which made $10.1 million on its opening weekend domestically and is sitting at 68 million worldwide due to it opening in other countries such as Australia and the UK earlier in the year. So in terms of family films, this is the second highest opening weekend for a family movie released post-pandemic. It had a way bigger opening than Spirit Untamed, The Crude, Raya and the Last Dragon, and was just 4 million away behind Tom and Jerry's 14 million opening weekend back in February. And another thing that can help this movie out is that it's releasing in the summer, and kids are starting to come out of school, and they're going to need something to do to keep them occupied. And seeing how the next big family film, Boss Baby 2, of all things, doesn't come out till early July, I think this film will stand a chance. It has a couple weeks before that film comes out, and these family films typically had strong holds, well, outside of Spirit, but we all know why that flopped. And regardless of how well it did stateside, it's still gonna be a hit. It already surpassed its $45 million budget, and I'm certain it'll get to $100 million worldwide very soon. So while, yeah, it did underperform, I don't see it as a failure in terms of the pandemic and the times we are still in. It got to be the second highest opening weekend for a family film and has already surpassed its budget. I feel like if Sony hadn't changed the release date last minute and just stuck with the June 18th release date that they've been promoting constantly, it would have probably had a higher opening weekend. Maybe that's why. Maybe more people, since the promotion heavily implied that was coming out next week, maybe more people bought tickets for next week and didn't even know it moved up to this weekend. Maybe that's why. I don't know. We'll see how it will do next week, but I'm sure it'll have a strong hold, and I think Peter Rabbit is going to be fine. Number 3 is The Conjuring: The Devil Made Me Do It, making $10.3 million this weekend, adding to a domestic total of $44 million and a worldwide total of $112 million. So this film had a drop of 57%, which is way shorter than the 61% drop of its predecessor, The Conjuring 2, and even shorter than the drop for A Quiet Place Part 2, which dropped 59%, which is very impressive. And the film is already a huge box office success. It has already made well past its $40 million budget domestically, and it's quadrupled that worldwide. So this film is already a hit. It will for sure surpass the $50 million milestone domestically, and I definitely think it has a chance of passing Cruella, but again, like that film, not sure if it'll get to where the lengths of Godzilla vs. Kong, and I'm sure it will get nowhere near the lengths of another movie we'll talk about later. But regardless, this is a terrific domestic run for this film. Even with very stiff competition, this film is doing alright for itself, which is very good. Number 2 is a movie that caught everyone by surprise, In the Heights, which made 11.5 million on its opening weekend domestically and is sitting at 11.7 million worldwide. So there were many reports saying, "Oh, this was such a disappointment. It underperformed. It didn't come anywhere near expectations." And I'm going to be honest, it also didn't come near my expectations as well. I highballed it. I thought it was going to get like so near $30 million and be like this grand, the next big blockbuster, if you will, but it didn't. So why did this happen? Well, for starters, it is a musical, and those are typically harder to sell. I've been talking with the people, encouraging people to see it this weekend, and I've seen a couple people say to me, like, yeah, I'm not into musicals. It's not my cup of tea. And that's fine, of course. And also, while In the Heights as a musical is well known, it is certainly no Hamilton. Even I am at fault for this. I did not even know this was based off a musical until after watching the trailer a year ago and doing research on the movie and figuring out, oh, this is based off a musical. I did not know that. And some other people I know didn't even know that as well. But the other factor I think caused this movie to underperform in the eyes of these people is the reviews. It has been getting stellar reviews. The reviews have been nonstop praising, people saying the best movie of the year. It's so good, and if you've seen my review, you know that I 100% agree with these people. But I think these reviews may have given the idea to people like, oh, well, since this is such a widely beloved film, it's just gonna do gangbusters. People are gonna see this and go, wow, I better head to the theater and check this movie out. This is gonna just really bring home the novelty of going back to the theaters, and it really didn't, which is unfortunate. But I still think there is hope for this movie, because let's talk about another musical that came out a couple years ago, The Greatest Showman. That film was another musical that underperformed. It actually made less than this, with like around $9 million on its opening weekend, which many said was disappointing. But thanks to word of mouth and the strong legs that it had, it was able to make over 170 million domestically. And I think that's the key word here, word of mouth and strong legs. I definitely think those two factors are going to help this movie this week and throughout its entire domestic run, because I cannot tell you the number of tweets, posts, and videos I saw yesterday at the time of recording this encouraging people to see this movie. It is insane, and I am very happy about it because, again, I really love this movie if you have seen my video. So we'll see how well it does next week, but hopefully, again, word of mouth will prevail and help this movie get the recognition that it deserves, because even though that I have hope for this, I cannot deny that this is a little bit of a disappointing opening, but still, hopefully, next week it'll have strong legs throughout its domestic run. And finally, let's end the video off with the number one movie of the weekend, and that is A Quiet Place Part 2. Yes, the film, after a small dip, finally returned as champion at the box office, making $12 million this weekend, bringing its domestic total to $109 million, and its worldwide total to $199 million. So, folks, it finally happened. We've long debated how long this was going to take and which movie was able to do it. We all thought, oh, it's going to be Godzilla. No, it's going to be Mortal Kombat. But no, it was Quiet Place Part 2. And it was we finally have a movie domestically that made over $100 million. This is incredible, and I am very happy that this movie was able to connect with its audience so much that not only was it able to return to the number one spot, but it to become the first movie post-pandemic to reach over 100 million domestic I'm just flabbergasted. That is incredible. And not only that, but it's also a box office success. The budget is a reported $61 million dollars, and it's already about to cross 200 million worldwide. That is insane. The bar has now been raised. It was originally Godzilla vs. Kong, but now that film looks weak compared to this, and the bar is now been raised to this movie, and this is definitely going to put a lot of pressure on the other blockbusters hitting theaters later this summer and even this year. And a lot of them are going to be asked the same question: can they match the lengths that this movie did? And that's going to be a question that's going to be asked a lot. And which movie is going to make more than this? So we'll see when that time comes. We'll see what happens. But for right now, we have our first blockbuster since, I can't believe I'm saying this, but Sonic the Hedgehog, ladies and gentlemen. And those were the top 5 domestic box office results for this week, but we're not quite done yet, as we've got another week ahead of us and new movies coming out. And this week we only have one major release, and that is The Hitman's Wife's Bodyguard. So this is probably the first movie on this series where I honestly don't really know how well it's gonna do. The first film was a modest hit at the box office, sure, and they've been advertising it well enough leading up to its release, and it shows that the studio has a lot of confidence in this given how they did 2 early screenings this past weekend on Friday and Saturday, I believe. But was anyone really asking for a sequel to the original? Does anyone even remember the original? Again, the first one was a modest hit, but it was really only a hit because it came out in August and had no real competition. This one's coming out in middle of June and the week before Fast and the Furious 9. Granted, it's also opening on Wednesday, so it's going to get a big jump ahead of the weekend, but still, I'm not sure how well this is honestly going to do because I haven't seen a whole lot of people talking about it, and not sure if anyone even really cares that it's coming out. But then again, I could be wrong and it could do gangbusters and completely blow my expectations. I mean, if this video has done anything, it's proven that I have been wrong several times on this show. So we'll see how well this movie does throughout the week and where it lands on the charts on the next Box Office Chat. And that's going to do it for this week's episode of Box Office Chat. What did you guys think of the results? Were you satisfied, unsatisfied? Comment down below and let me know. If you like this video, hit the like button. If you like this channel, hit that subscribe button. Follow me on all of the social media links right there. And until next time, guys, stay sharp.